Today on DNVR Buffs Live, Coach Prime says 2 more huge hires are coming to this coaching staff. We discuss who those might be and much more. Let's get it.
Buff Nation.
Why so sad?
I thought this was gonna go in an order that it didn't go in, so that's Buff Nation.
Let's go.
Squad. Coming to you live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. We're in the presence of a superstar today.
Hey, Coach Scott Procter.
What's up,
DNVR.
boss? You blowing up, huh?
I'm trying to.
Yeah, I see you everywhere.
You feel me? I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see what's going on, man. Hey, if Coach Prime say I'm blowing up, I must be blowing up.
Damn, bro. Leave the glasses on.
Hey, you feel me? This is how I go now. I've been waiting on my opportunity to really bust one out with the glasses. This was finally my chance, man. Shout out Coach Prime showing some love. That was dope. That wasn't his first time showing love like that, and on some real stuff. He's just a real one because he finds a way to do that. You know, with different people, with the Jack Carlo. You know what I'm saying? With a Nikki Edwards, with everybody. Just about. He has his own little thing with everybody that he can kind of make them feel how personable of a man he is. And that's the man that's leading this program, and it's part of the reason why this program is on such an upward trajectory. So shout out Coach Prime. That was dope.
Are the sunglasses permanent now?
Hey, man, these might be stuck to my face now at this point. I'm not even gonna lie to you. What y'all think? What y'all think, squad? Tell you something. Let me know something.
He kind of reminded me of Justin Jefferson at the NFL awards when he was absolutely fried.
Hey, that's a classic video, man. These not even mine, actually. I ain't even gonna lie. I'm not gonna let y'all know whose these are, but you know what I'm saying? These not even mine, but I think they fit me. I'm not gonna lie.
Kind of want to know who they are.
We got a lot to get to today.
Wait, we have to go from good news to bad news. Unfortunately, I'm going to let you guys know live on the show here that you're both being written up for being late to the press conference today.
Cap.
You got,
the handshake says it all.
You want to hear what Jake said to me when I brought this up to him?
No. What
he said, I wasn't late. They just started on time.
Period. That is facts.
That means you were late, bro.
I'm co-signing you, bro.
Thank you, bro.
See, I stopped going to the pressers because I have a new second show that I have to do every day now, and then all of a sudden everything falls apart because you guys just aren't very timely.
Bro, again, they do a thing called a safe time, right? Which is the safe time is, the people out there who don't know, that's the time where it's like it's safe to where you could kind of plan on when you should arrive. That's not really when it's going to start, but that's a good indication of when it could start. And the safe time typically for these pressers really never means anything because whatever the start time is, it's really going to start at minimum half an hour later, sometimes 45, sometimes an hour later than the safe time. Today, I want to say it started for sure before the safe time. You know
I heard 2 minutes after the safe time. That was my inside sources.
2 minutes.
Well,
wow, you're sourcing the press conferences.
I needed facts to put in your guys' write-up.
Unreal.
I don't know about that. Typically, you know me and Jake. We typically one of the first people up in that room. So if we walking in just a little bit late, it's somebody else's fault, not ours. Typically,
crazy.
I can blame something else. I blame the wind.
Oh, here you go with the weather excuse.
No, whoa. Hold on here. From what I heard, And you know this too. Coach Prime goes on a walk after practice usually.
Yes.
It was so windy, it was
hella
crazy windy in Boulder.
Yes, it was.
So they canceled the walk, and right after practice, they just went into the press conference room. That's what happened.
2 minutes after the safe time.
Yes, but even when you go to press conferences, if you showed up 2 minutes after the safe time, generally you're way, way early.
Yeah, it's fair. It's totally fair. But safe time exists for a reason.
I ain't gonna lie. As soon as I walked in there too, I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna walk past no cameras. Like, ain't nobody gonna know. And then I just look over and I see Uncle Neely's camera just pointed right at us. I'm like,
Unc.
damn.
Thanks, Unc. You gotta keep on these guys. Don't let it happen again.
Yeah,
Oh, gosh. All right. We have a lot to get to here. We already think this is one of the best coaching staffs, if not the best coaching staff in the country. And it's going to get better, apparently. Coach Prime today teased some future additions coming sooner rather than later.
We have a couple more of huge moves. We'll probably make this week, maybe one next week, that you're going to really appreciate the understanding of how wonderful this staff is. I always tell you that rod and that staff, they comfort me, and these guys that we're bringing in, along with these guys I just announced, gives me tremendous comfort.
What do we think? What rooms need help at this point, do you think?
Help? I don't know if any room needs help.
But where could they add?
Well, you could add at linebacker, right? Because you had Hilo there, and then you moved him to outside, which I guess, is still in the linebackers adjacent. They haven't had like a big name quarterbacks coach.
That's where
That's where I think this is going to be. Those are the two that kind of stood out to me, and I think, just the way that Coach Prime said that makes me think it's gonna be a name we've all heard. And I thought, okay, I bet you there's a big name quarterback out there who wants to come help out.
Yeah, quarterback coach is immediately where my mind went, because obviously that's currently a role that's kind of being filled by, obviously Pat Shurmur, who's obviously also the offensive coordinator, and that's typically kind of how this works. Like, your offensive coordinator is a lot of times your quarterback coach. That's what it was for me, at least in college. So that would be something that I would be in favor of, adding in a true kind of quarterback specialist, because again, Pat Shurmur, I think he's kind of earned his salt in terms of being a quarterback coach. Like, obviously Kaidon Salter has talked about, that was a big reason why he came to Colorado. Obviously the same thing has been said by JuJu Lewis. He thinks he's one of the best quarterback coaches in all of college football, and that's part of the reason why he's here in Boulder. But I feel like somebody who can really give their 100% attention to that quarterback room could be really valuable, because obviously Pat Shurmur is going to spend the majority of his time with the quarterbacks, but he's got to make sure that entire offense is running, the way it should be. So somebody, especially a star, a name that we might all know who's following this blueprint, probably somebody who's played a lot of football at that quarterback position, adding that presence to that quarterback room could be really valuable.
So you already have 3 offensive line coaches.
Right.
And along that same thinking, I don't think we've had a run game coordinator the last few years.
Yeah.
They really want to run the ball, as we're going to hear today. So
Definitely. My first theory, completely unsourced guess, is Byron Leftwich.
I swear to God, that was a name that I was thinking of.
Obviously a name that's been around the program a bit since Coach Prime got here. I tried to look up what he's doing currently, and nothing was like immediately obvious.
Right.
yeah, I think he's been out since Tampa let him go, right?
I think he was doing some like
Consulting.
yeah, that type of stuff. But could be available.
I had him as a potential candidate, last offseason for
OC.
OC, yep.
Obviously before they ended up going with Shurmur in the full-time role. And yeah, we haven't really seen Byron Leftwich in a coaching capacity since those years when he was helping the Bucs win the Super Bowl, correct? Obviously with Tom Brady as his guy, but that would be interesting. Something I would definitely be in favor of.
We'll see. Coach said basically sooner rather than later. Could be this week, could be a week from now, but
also, yeah, that's when it might be official for them, and then it could just be any amount of time until it becomes official for us.
True. Coach Prime also just generally spoke about the team. We think this roster's a lot better than it was last year, top to bottom, even without Shedeur and Travis. And sounds like Coach Prime agrees.
We will have a better team. I really do. I know we had a few phenomenal players that you're going to see get drafted. But as a team, I feel like we're better on both lines. I feel like we're better in the backfield, especially with the addition of Marshall Faulk. I just feel like offensively and defensively, the linebackers, what I'm seeing from the secondary, the depth, and I'm appreciating so many aspects of the coaching staff and what they're bringing and the young men that are understanding what they desire. So, when you hire a guy, you want that room to emulate and imitate who he is, and that's what they're doing right now, and I'm proud of that. Sapp is settled now. He's good. I mean, you bring a big dog in there like that, he got the outside guys as well as the inside. Petco's doing his thing. Gerard is doing his thing with Big George and Gunner. It's a beautiful thing. The receivers, they're fighting, they're feisty. I just can't wait to see what comes to pass on the field. A couple quarterbacks are fighting for who's going to be who. We don't know. No one's getting a nod right now. We're testing both of them and see how they react to what Pat is throwing at them, and they're doing a phenomenal job in leadership. You got to understand the offensive line and some of the guys that are still here is used to a certain type of leader, and these guys, we want them. The standard is the standard. We're not going to shy away from the standard at receiver, at quarterback, or wherever have it. The standard is the standard. Let's go.
Lot to get into there. What stood out to you?
I mean, just that he's in lockstep with us about the team being better.
Mm-hmm.
And it goes back to everything we've always said about the team improving at any opportunity that it gets. That was the number one thing that stood out to me.
The theme of the offseason. We said it on the show. Standard is the standard.
Yep.
Hearing that multiple times there from Coach Prime, and I think he mentioned it again later when he was asked about the quarterbacks specifically, but this is something that goes for the entire team.
Mm-hmm.
When you have a Travis Hunter, that defensive backfield has a standard to uphold. When you have a Shedeur Sanders, that quarterback room and that offense has a standard to uphold, whether they're still here in Boulder or not. And that's something that I think we're going to see manifest itself throughout this spring up into the fall. I saw that in the two guys that we talked to today, the players-wise as well, Jordan Seaton and DJ McKinney, upholding the standard, kind of set by Coach Prime and those other guys that I just mentioned. So that was kind of what stood out to me. And we agree. This team, I think, might not have the top-end talent that it did last year, but they're more deep. You know what I'm saying? I think they are more well-rounded. I think they're going to be more balanced. And maybe the most important thing, they're going to be better coached as a whole than they were last year. And to me, those things have the makings of a better team than the one we saw in 2024, which still won 9 games.
Absolutely. He obviously thinks, I thought this coming into the season, right after the bowl game, basically, like that was my first thought, that you might be losing Travis and Shedeur, your two biggest stars, obviously, and the two players that drove basically what they built the team around the last 2 years.
Yeah, literally.
But top to bottom, the depth of this team really is standing out, I think, and it's just going to be a better football team. They're going to be tougher, I think, in all aspects. He damn near mentioned every single position group right then, too.
Facts.
Especially the quarterbacks, which we will get to on the other side of this break. Shout out to the homies at FanStake, an awesome new app that allows you, the fan, to directly invest in certain players to stay on the Colorado Buffaloes or to acquire them. The portal's going to be opening here. What are we, about a month away from the portal opening, I think?
A little less, I think.
Yep.
So FanStake and all that stuff that goes into recruiting, transfers are going to play a big role. One guy who's on the team who was recruited by a lot of teams, though, this offseason, sounds like, Jordan Seaton.
Mm-hmm.
So if you want to help keep Jordan Seaton on the team, FanStake is currently offering new fans a free $25 credit, no credit card required or strings attached. And we're encouraging everyone to join us in staking Jordan Seaton to keep him on the team, basically the new leader of the team. We'll hear from him later in the show. Click the link in our description, scan the QR code, or just head to fanstake.com and use promo code DNVR to help keep Jordan Seaton with the Buffs.
And shout out to our homies over at Elevations Credit Union, who I've heard It's one of the sexiest credit cards, potentially, maybe in world history.
Some are saying.
Yeah, I mean, the people I talk to don't say maybe or potentially. This is all stating facts.
All facts, man. Hey, listen, as the official credit union of the University of Colorado, Elevations Credit Union is launching the exclusive Go Buffs Visa Signature Rewards card emblazoned with the iconic CU Ralphie logo. There are a ton of cardholder benefits, but maybe the coolest one is the fact that Elevations donates 2 cents per swipe to CU student athletes through NIL. In other words, every single swipe of this card is a win for you and for the University of Colorado. You get up to 3% cash back on CU tickets and merchandise with select CU merchants. Plus, every purchase, like I said, helps you support CU student athletes. Go Buffs with the Go Buffs Visa Signature Rewards card, the only official credit card of CU Athletics, only at Elevations Credit Union. Visit buffscreditcard.com to apply and see full credit benefits and details.
All right, about the quarterbacks. Obviously, we got a quarterback competition. It's still early on. Are those Roxy's?
Hey, man. You know, what I will say is what I was going to say earlier. The next step, I wanted to say Coach Prime. Now, when that invite, because I need an invite on We Got Time today, is co-host with you and Roxy. That's what I need next. That's what we got to work on. But
Oh, man.
shout out Roxy, man.
But here's Coach Prime talking about the quarterback competition and basically what he wants to see from these guys as they compete and duel it out on the field.
Them on the field. What qualities are you looking for in
Leadership.
your starting quarterback?
Leadership, being able to see the field, being able to rally those guys around. Because you got to understand, you got to have a bona fide leader. Why you asked me that? I'm glad you asked. Because you don't huddle. You rarely huddle in college football. So those guys rarely get to look in the quarterback's eyes and see what he's consist of and is he still composed. They rarely do that. You would see Shedeur sitting there or he going on the sideline talking to those guys, and I always used to tell them, look in their eyes so they could see where you are. They could see how passionate you are about this next possession. And you want to see that type of leadership because I know what they've seen. And the standard is the standard, and we're not going to vacillate from the standard.
What a word. Y'all need to add vacillate to y'all vocabulary.
I need to get a definition of that.
I don't think that's the first time he's used that word,
I don't
too.
think so either. It's a fire word. He used it well, too. He used it correctly, no doubt. But there it is again. The standard is the
That's
standard.
exactly where I was going, man. Go ahead.
The standard is the
Alternate
standard.
or waver between different opinions or actions. Be indecisive.
Yeah. Can't be deciding one day if you want to be the standard or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? You can't. You
guys vacillated from the standard today when you were late.
But again, man, the standard is the standard, and maybe no more important than at that position of quarterback. And I think it's very telling. Some people are already saying in the comments, it seems that every time leadership is important to Coach Prime. Again,
Yes.
particularly at that position, particularly because he saw Shedeur Sanders, his son, be the epitome of a leader on and off the field for
Well,
the
he
last
helped-
4+ years.
He helped bring him up to be that leader,
exactly.
too.
Exactly. I mean, he just gave him game right there in terms of what he used to tell Shedeur.
Yes.
Look your guys in the eye when you talking to them, when you're trying to get them riled up on the sideline in the middle of games. That's how they're gonna really, know that you really locked in with them and there for that moment. That's free game right there. I know JuJu and Kaidon are both listening, but this is gonna come down to, and I think Unc mentioned it as well. Like, it's not, I think, gonna really come down to who has the best arm and who has the most completions in camp and whatnot. A lot of it is going to come down to who is the best leader for this group. You know what I'm saying? Who has done the most in terms of the classroom, the weight room, you know what I'm saying? The film room, the stuff that we don't always see on the field. Like, is going to, what, at least in part, determine who ends up winning this quarterback battle. Leadership is what this team really needs, especially after losing a Shedeur and a Travis. And I think they're going to get that in whoever they end up going with at quarterback.
Speaking of the quarterback competition, a famous nameless person on this show may or may not be the same person who was a Gunnar White doubter. Came up to me today and said, I think I'm starting to turn towards JuJu to be the starter. I was originally Kaidon.
I know why he said that too.
Why? Because he saw like a TikTok?
Nah. It was he saw a tweet actually.
Okay.
It was the same tweet that I sent to y'all on Friday. I also sent it to this unnamed faceless individual. And he was like, damn, not really rocking with bro.
JuJu's been balling though.
Yeah. No.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we already knew that was his archetype, but the dude's a surgeon on the field. He puts the ball exactly where he wants it.
I mean, we saw that clip that the
Sounds
Buffs
familiar.
social page
Yep.
put out the other day, and granted that was in 7-on-7, and granted that
Right.
was against probably the second, third team defensive backfield, but the arm talent was on display, and seeing Cam Michael on the receiving end of that arm talent was particularly exciting.
He was born to throw the football.
He really was.
No doubt.
Yep.
No doubt.
But of course, Marshall Faulk was a big addition too. Coach Prime finally got to speak on the addition of Marshall Faulk and what exactly he's going to bring to the program.
Well, I brought him in first and foremost because of his expertise of what he does. He was one of the greatest, arguably the greatest running back to ever play the game. I'm talking about in all phases: blocking, running the ball, catching the ball out of the backfield, and a bona fide leader. Marshall made many of the checks for the quarterbacks early in some of those quarterbacks' careers, and he was just that smart. And we worked beside one another for over a decade at the NFL Network, so I know him. He is not just a friend. That's my dog. That's my boy. That's my man. I mean, I got love for Marshall Faulk. So for him to even do what he's doing here, he didn't have to. Marshall don't need no money. He's straight. So for him to want to come and help these young men and help us do what we're doing and these guys to elevate to the next level, that's tremendous. I'm proud. I'm happy. I'm thankful. I'm elated. Every time I see him, I go up and hug him, man, because it's, looking around the room and you see Marshall Faulk, and then you listen in on some of the talks and some of the wisdom that he's giving these young men is unbelievable. They getting it at cornerback, defensive line. They getting it everywhere now, and it's crazy with Pat, with the quarterbacks. And I'm telling you, we got a couple surprises that you're going to say, darn it. You might use profanity, but I say darn it. You may use profanity, but it's going to be some good guys.
Teasing the coaching additions again, but also how he talked about Marshall there, and what you keep hearing about him is how smart of a player he was. And I don't think I've ever heard Coach Prime talk about, especially a coach who just joined the program, talking about how much he enjoys watching them coach like he just did Marshall Faulk right there.
It's exciting, man.
Yep.
It's really, really exciting.
I thought that was dope when he said Marshall used to be telling the quarterbacks, the young quarterbacks when he was playing, giving them checks at the line of scrimmage from the running back position. Like that just speaks to his football IQ. And again, he is going to be just such an invaluable addition to this coaching staff at a position that really needs it, that really needs an influx, an injection of energy, an injection of knowledge. And Marshall Faulk brings all of that and then some. I
don't understand how you could be in Marshall Faulk's running back room and hear people talk about him in that way and how smart of a player he was and how he could help his quarterback because he was so knowledgeable, and not do everything you can to get to that level. Right. It's the same thing we talked about with Travis Hunter. It's like when Travis Hunter is outworking everyone and then he wins the Heisman Trophy, like there's no excuse for you to say like, I don't have to work that hard.
Right.
Like he was better than you and worked harder than you. You can't, one of those two things you can control.
No doubt.
And so it just has to be such just a boost to those guys to be able to talk to a person like that and understand how deep his knowledge of the game is and think to themselves, I got to get there.
Yep. I mean, to go along with that, you don't get a gold jacket just purely off ability.
Nope. No.
You get it because you got to be, a Hall of Fame football mind too. You got to really understand that game on an advanced level.
That would be a fun question to get an answer to if you were at like somehow like a party full of Hall of Famers. It's like, what Hall of Famer do you think worked the least?
Yeah.
Like he was just so talented that it didn't matter.
Yep.
But I'm almost positive most guys would say like not possible, but there might just be one person like, I've heard stories of, and it's different in baseball than football, but I've heard stories of like Hall of Fame baseball players who were rolling in hungover every day.
Next, this one's short, but Coach Prime gave an update on the contract extension that we've heard about for so long now. Here's what he had to say.
Yeah, I don't know. I ain't worried about me. Let's get everybody else straight first, then I'm good.
There you go.
Point blank period.
It'll happen when it happens, or it won't when it doesn't.
We'll find out. We're of course in spring football, and a lot of the recruiting and additions have already happened for players. But the portal is opening up again, and Coach Prime finally today kind of just talked through the offseason strategy, how they wanted to build this roster, and what they wanted to look like, coming into spring football and just the 2025 season.
Well, I think we addressed it differently. Usually we address it with personnel. We addressed it with personnel as well as coaching. So when you say, I want to run the ball better, you got to address it with personnel, but sometimes you got to address it with coaching, and I think we did both, which is phenomenal. I love that. And stopping the run, I think we did it with personnel, and I think we did it. So I learned from year one, you can't just do it with personnel. You got to do it with coaching as well, and they must be united with one another, and you got to know what you need, not just grabbing somebody from the portal. You got to check them out thoroughly, make sure it's a fit, just not athletically, but do he fit with the culture and what we're doing here at CU. And I'm happy and I'm elated what we have in house. We still gonna go fishing for a few more, and we gonna come up. We already know that.
Make no mistake about it, they're going to keep adding through the portal. But what he said about coaching, we talked about, maybe transfer portal was a little underwhelming in terms of the amount of players they brought in, maybe recruiting too. And it's probably because of what Coach just said, that he thinks that coaching is how this team's actually going to take the next step.
I love that because he's so right. I mean, he's right. Like, coaching is, especially in college football, really in football in general, but particularly in college football, like that's the difference between a 7-5 season or a 9-3 season or potentially a 5-7 season. Like the margin for error, particularly in a conference like the Big 12, you know what I'm saying? The best teams in the Big 12 last year, I think we can fairly say, pretty easily say that those are probably 2 or 3 of the best coaches in the conference.
And
I
Kenny
would say it's
Dillingham.
the 4 teams that were tied have the 4 best coaches.
Yep.
Period.
And then you saw it in the Alamo Bowl, the levels to it, right? I mean,
Period.
BYU straight up out coached CU in the Alamo Bowl.
Yeah.
true.
Yes.
True.
I think there's some other things at play there, but
Of course,
No doubt.
but
And I think that's part of the reason Coach Prime went so hard in terms of adding a Marshall Faulk to this staff, adding an Andre Gerard to this staff, making sure that Robert Livingston ain't leaving my building.
Yep.
Because I think he realized in that game against BYU, after what was a really successful season, there's still a level we got to get to. And it really,
100%.
it starts with us as coaches, like not putting that blame on the players. Oh, we got to get better players here. No, it starts with us at the coaching staff. We got to get better if we really want to reach the level that we got to get to. And it's cool that Coach Prime not only notices that, but he's put in the work to add the bodies to this coaching staff that could potentially, help this team, this program make it to the next step.
definitely. Next thing, it's pretty long, so we'll save it. But Coach Prime was talking about standouts at practice. Who stood out to you guys just watching the clips, and obviously JuJu, but who else?
Isaiah Harge. Let's see if there's anyone else that's top of mind for me. Cam
Michael, man.
Yep.
Cam.
He's going to play a lot this year.
He can fly, bro.
Yeah.
Fly. I'd say RJ Johnson as well on the defensive side of the ball, especially because of, we think that this is the best cornerback trio potentially in college football. But after that, there's a bit of uncertainty, especially with Coach Prime telling us today that Isaiah Harge is no longer really playing cornerback. They're focusing him on at wide receiver. So that 4th cornerback spot that is really valuable, as we saw Colton Hood play last year,
Right.
is really valuable. And if that ends up being RJ Johnson, who can play cornerback and safety, what we've seen out of him this spring is really impressive. And if he can kind of be that guy this year, that CB4, that would be dope.
Definitely. And today we found out that Makari Vickers had heart surgery, apparently. He posted a picture from the bed. He's doing fine, it looks like. But that was probably your cornerback 4 right there. So at the very least, I think, we'll see, when Vickers comes back. But at the very least, you need another cornerback out of the portal here next month.
Absolutely.
Hell yeah.
RJ has been impressive, though.
No doubt.
That is true. And he could just be that too, I guess.
Yeah.
But
And whole
you need
time,
depth.
too, Pastor has never lied to us, low key, on the lowest of keys.
He's been
you know
on
what
it,
I'm saying?
man.
He told us
He
Cole
knows
was
ball.
going to be a dog. You know what I'm saying? He told us last year RJ was going to be something to watch. And Shout out Pastor Smith, man. He don't be lying. Now, granted, he is talking about his family, his nephews, so he might have a little bias, but to this day, he has not set this off one time.
I was gonna say on that line, then you better be looking out for Brandon Hood.
Think we not? think the chat not?
All right, let's take our next break. Shout out to Coors Light.
Coors Light.
It's almost tournament time, which means it's almost time to just, Coors Light's, both hands basically.
Yep. I have
Go hard.
I have a great Coors Light story. So I went in for my new golf clubs this weekend. And I got there and I was a little bit early and I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna get a 24-ounce Coors Light. And it was just such an enjoyable experience. It was like a giant mug with a whole handle. Just sipping on that, hitting golf balls. It was awesome.
So shout out to Coors Light. Whether you're at the golf course or hanging out with us here at the DNVR bar, choose chill, reach for a Coors Light. Get it delivered straight to your door with Instacart. Go to CoorsLight.com/DNVR, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado.
Oh, God, I just lost my place.
Game time.
Also, shout out to Game Time, the single best place for last-minute tickets. I am very, very excited about the Avs right now, and then need to start going to more Avs games. And I will be hitting up Game Time. That is the way I always go to games. But especially, I love it when you're in town already. Obviously, I live in the city, so it's like I can decide I want to go to an Avs game 2 hours before, wait until an hour before or less to buy the tickets. Yeah. And zoom over and get into the game. But no matter how you're going about it, Game Time is the best place to get last-minute tickets. Their prices are lower than their competitors, and you can get the all-in feature on there, which shows you exactly what the cost is. No hidden fees, none of that. So get over to Game Time, use that code BUFFS for $20 off your first purchase.
And I feel like we can just talk about this real quickly because the chat's already on it.
Did you guys hear about Fran Brown's tweet?
Mm-hmm.
You're silly, bro. We're going to talk about this more in depth later in the week, the whole spring game idea. But if you guys didn't hear Coach Prime today, he kind of floated the idea of playing a different team for the spring game.
Yeah.
And obviously that made the rounds on social media. And just 20 minutes ago, Syracuse head coach Fran Brown found that post, quote, retweeted it, quote, posted or whatever, and goes, at Deion Sanders, we will come to Boulder for 3 days. Let's go. Fire.
Let's go.
A little Syracuse, Colorado, a little exhibition.
That'd be tight.
Matchup, a little couple practices before, a little showcase. That would be elite. That would be a great challenge.
And there's some similar or common threads, I guess, obviously between the programs with Nick Williams, but and two black head coaches. Yeah. But it seems like they really appreciate what each other's doing, and they just vibe with each other. So
totally
be fired.
I just love that. I hope 5 other coaches say this because it's just going to push the NCAA to consider it more.
And I love how he said, we gonna come to Boulder.
Yeah.
He didn't say, y'all come to us. He said, we'll come to y'all to Boulder. That's dope, too.
Yeah, so you're saying Coach probably didn't have to do an in-home visit?
All right, here's Coach Prime talking about the players who have stood out to him in the early part of spring ball.
Quite a few of them. I can't start off with the names. Quite a few of them. Our D tackles, not that both of them are newcomers, they're phenomenal. They've been balling. They've been stopping that run, man. Linebackers are flying around, getting to the ball. Faithful Ben. Ben is balling. I told Ben as of right now you're starting. I don't know if it's going to change, but right now, and they're doing good. Receivers are doing well. Quarterbacks are fighting. They're fighting. We should have a much improved line, not just because of the personnel, but because of the coaching as well. And 3 guys, doing one job is true cohesiveness. But it's so many. I tell you what. Now this is what. I don't think we would have a kickoff return because they won't get opportunity. The ball may go in the band. You have no idea how much I hate every team we play kicks the ball out of the end zone, and we kicking a returnable ball. I don't like that. I just watched this guy kick the other day, man. It was ridiculous, man. It was field goals. He was kicking field goals from kicking off. It was crazy. And new mate, I call him new mate, a punter. New mate is booming them just like old mate was. I mean, they're doing a phenomenal job. Their special team should be truly special this season. And I want that because I would love to put 10 walk-ons out there and let them go do their thing on the kickoff team. I'm going to tell you one other kid that I really like before I go, Isaiah Harge. I love this young man with so many others, but he stands out because I don't know if the last home game we had 3 guys that play both ways, and he was one of them. Brown was the other one, and of course Travis. But he is coming into his own at playing the slot receiver. He is. We've taken him off defense so he could focus on that slot. And that this kid, he's going to do some incredible things this season. He's doing really well. But we have a plethora of kids that are really playing well, and I don't want to over-exaggerate anything. I want you to see them first, but we have some tremendous talent on this team. Hats off to Coach Ray and that recruiting department.
All right, where do you want to go? Isaiah Harge, Ben Finiseth, Buck Buchanan. He loves the trenches. Who are the 2 D tackles?
Hey, I want to start with Buck Buchanan because I love, kind of similar to what we were talking about, Coach knowing probably after the Alamo Bowl that they have to get better at the coaching staff. I love that Coach Prime sees something that he don't like and he go out and addresses it.
Yep.
He was rightfully so complaining about the fact different points last year that they could not kick the ball through the back of the end zone, and that resulted in unnecessary kickoff returns for the opponents, helping them get solid, good to great field position more times than not. And rather than just sit back and complain about the fact and run back the same roster, go out and address it. Go get a Buck Buchanan who I wish I had the numbers right up, but I think 80+% touchbacks in terms of his kickoffs last year. Like, that's how you address something instead of just sitting back and be like, damn, we just got to get better at this, or continuing to blame, players. Go out and address it. And I just love that Coach Prime continues to do that.
Also, he just spoke for every Buffs fan, for the last however many years.
Yeah.
Just saying, I hate that everyone else gives us touchbacks and we can't do it to them. And I was thinking about it, like if we got to play our own kickoff team this year, it had at least 5 return touchdowns.
Yeah, definitely.
Because of the amount of opportunities that we gave up. So
no doubt.
It's so right, Scotty, and it seems so obvious. And yet, a lot of times, it's just like, all right, got to develop better. Like, get go do some leg presses.
Right.
We got to kick this thing out. It's like, no, let's just go out there. Who's doing it well? Get them, bring them in here.
Period. Harge. It begins.
Look, man. It started last spring game. It started before that, technically, but it was actually put on display for everyone to see last spring game.
Yeah. And in the Utah game.
Oklahoma State.
Oh, Oklahoma State, yep.
Yeah, he caught a big slot fade. And again, that was some Coach Prime really said he's turning into something special in that slot in particular. And that was the play. It was just a straight slot fade. Shador, free rusher, and everybody likes to talk about his arm strength. He just takes a hit to the chest and delivers a dot 45 yards right in Isaiah Harge's breadbasket. Isaiah gets upturned. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's you can envision that becoming something that it becomes a staple of his offense. And even the clip today on the Buffs social, they just posted Kaidon Salter dropping a dot middle of the field over middle to Isaiah Harge. Like, that's something that I can envision being a consistent part of this offense here this fall.
That was a hell of a throw, by the way. Right over Coach Prime's head, too.
Effortless, yeah. Effortless.
I'm really excited for Isaiah Harge. He's so versatile. He's so shifty.
Yeah.
Remember he had that direct snap play.
Yes.
And that win, I think it got called back for a hold or something.
Yep.
But he's a playmaker is what he is. And at that slot position, what's the group there? Obviously, Quentin Gibson coming in to play that position.
I'd imagine Draylon would play out of the slot.
Yeah, probably Cam too.
Big slot, yeah.
Cam, with the speed.
So, in college, it's a little different than the pros where it's like you're so specialized at the where you line up.
Right.
But they have a good mix of guys they can use in there, and Isaiah is going to be one of them for sure.
Definitely.
And I really do like the fact that they just taken the cornerback stuff off his plate. If we see something special in you at that spot, let's try to really cultivate that and put all our attention towards you improving as a receiver. Because again, not everybody is Travis Hunter. You know what I'm saying? In terms of being able to handle going to offense and defensive meetings and game plans for both sides of the ball and working out with both sides of the ball, like I really like that they've kind of specialized Isaiah, at this slot receiver spot, and I think he has a really high ceiling.
I mean, remember, Isaiah Harge, if Coach Prime never came here, Isaiah Harge is still here.
Yeah.
He was part of that 2023 recruiting class who already committed to Colorado.
I didn't know that.
Before. Yeah, he committed on April 20th, 2022. Isaiah Harge was a believer in this program for a long time.
Is he the last of that recruiting class that's still around?
Staub.
Oh, yep. Shout out Staub.
There's probably a few other I can't think off the top of my head right now. But
dope.
The defensive tackles, I don't know which two he's talking about. I know Jaheim Otis is one of them, though.
Facts.
He is going to be a problem for other teams and is going to be a game wrecker for Colorado this year. He's someone everyone should be very, very excited about.
Yeah.
He has like legitimate star potential.
Yeah.
I can't remember, and this is no disrespect to any of the players who have played here, but I can't remember the last time like when they started a game and they said like key players to look out for.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was a defensive
Right.
lineman every time,
Oh, in college football 26, he's going to have a star under his name. Like,
Yeah.
He's going to be an impact player.
So that's exciting to me, and it's the mark of a great program. When you start having great defensive linemen that are stars,
Yes.
that means that you're doing it right.
So there's a chance that Colorado's two best players this year are the left tackle, Jordan Seaton, and defensive tackle, Jaheim Otis.
They're gonna have to put away some narratives about Coach Prime.
Straight up.
You know what? Since you just said that, I want to say something maybe on similar to that. I think the two best players on this team potentially this year could both play on the offensive line. I think Zy Chrysler
He's been mauling.
has the ability and the potential to be looked at as one of the very best players on this team.
Yep.
Against somebody who has started 30 games in the Big Ten at Illinois. A two-time all Big Ten honorable mention. This is somebody who's 6'7", 340, damn near 350 pounds. Like you said, moving.
He's a beast.
Moving folks.
Yep.
So I think it's a possibility that the best two players on the team, potentially on the offense, both play on the offensive line.
Yep.
Quickly, just a comment here. I just lost it. Someone said, it's down a little bit. It's Xavier says, I think Tavian Coleman because I see 94 and 90 together mostly. And I would just point out that the Rittenberg article
Yes, he did.
That's right.
specifically mentioned
That's right.
Tavian Coleman. And
Sure
I'm
did.
guessing he probably talked to someone before he wrote that just because it had good information
Facts.
in it. So if I had to guess at this point, maybe it is Tavian Coleman.
Very interesting.
Good stuff. Okay, let's get to the players. We got a few things from DJ McKinney and Jordan today. We'll try and get through all of these. Preston Hodge is back. And DJ McKinney probably knows more than anyone because he played every single snap on the field last year, what it's like when Preston is on the field and when he's off the field, as we saw from injury.
Yeah.
So here's DJ talking about the value Preston brings and why he's excited he came back.
Man, that's just going to make us the best secondary in the country once again. He played a real crucial part of what made our secondary, our defense, successful in games. So it just means a lot having him. I could depend on him, knowing he's going to do his job and be there to make plays.
You see how big his arms are right there, too, by the way? DJ's been putting in work.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I mean, he's absolutely right. I mean, we've talked about it a lot, or at least I have. When you watch the Bengals when Robert Livingston was there, the slot was like such a key position for them, and that's what Preston fulfills for this defense.
Thank you, Diego Pavia.
Shout out Diego Pavia. Here's DJ talking about Colton Hood and the depth of the defensive backroom.
Oh, man, he's just growing into more of a dog, man. Honestly, I wish, it was enough DB spots out there for all of us to be out there playing at the same time because, man, it's no drop-off in that room, especially from last year, but it's still no drop-off this year. So he's just growing into his role as a ball player on his team.
I don't think I've ever heard a player say that. I wish we had more DB spots on the field so everyone can play.
That's kind of an elite quote.
That really is.
That's fire. That's fire. And again, it's part of the reason they being coached up. And it's not just Deion Sanders, Coach Prime. It's Kevin Mathis, who Coach Prime told us today that Kevin Mathis was also receiving interest from the New Orleans Saints, just like Robert Livingston was. He is getting NFL looks, because they realize over the last 2 years, this has been one of the best cornerback rooms in college football, and it will be again here in 2025 for sure. And Kevin Mathis has to start getting his respect and credit for that.
Facts.
DJ McKinney also mentioned Tawfiq Bayard, the former USF safety, as a standout in camp so far. Call him a dog. And then Antonio Branch Jr.
Yeah.
We talked about it when we watched the film. That guy, he's just got long arms and long legs. He can make plays that no one else can because of his length, and that's what DJ talked about as well.
He said Q out there making plays too.
That's right. He did mention Quentin Gibson. Scotty, I thought you asked DJ a great question. We only have so many to pick from, but when you asked him about the value of playing opposite of Travis and seeing all those targets last year.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Are you about to play a clip? Or?
No, I was just saying. I was just giving a shout out.
I appreciate that, bro.
I got you.
I wanted to just pick DJ's brain about that because, again, he played the most snaps on the defense last year. He played every single game. He was constantly out there and constantly targeted, right? Because, again, like I mentioned to him, he knew that teams, if they could help it, they weren't trying to throw to number 12. They weren't trying to throw to Travis Hunter's side, which meant that a lot of footballs were going to be targeted at DJ McKinney's direction. And he just talked about how valuable that experience was and how it's going to prepare him for this year. And this is he was really good last year in 2024, DJ was.
Yeah.
He will be even better. And that will result in him being a pretty highly coveted draft pick, I believe, in the 2026 NFL draft.
Yep. There's a good chance he's one of the top 2 or 3 corners off the board this time next year.
No doubt.
He's just the prototype.
He really is.
And Coach Prime said it from the day he got here.
Literally, man.
Your first round pick. That's, again, we talk about how can you let down when Travis Hunter's on your team? How can you not put the work in when Deion Sanders says you're a first round pick if you put the work in?
Yep. Last but not least, the leader of the team, man, Jordan Seaton on the podium today. I asked him what he's learned from Shedeur Sanders because Coach Prime kind of mentioned during his press conference that he gleaned a lot from him because he spent so much time around him. So I just
including
figured,
expensive taste.
including expensive taste. He's shouting out his car and all that. But here's Jordan on what he's learned from Shedeur.
How to be legendary. But really just like leadership traits, not in so much of with voicing, but just in action. I've never kind of been like a big talker or like a big like yelling guy like during like workouts and stuff, but now just leading my action. And then, like when you lead in action, you don't really have to say too much because like you're seeing it. So it's either you're going to rise to what I'm doing or you're just going to get left behind.
Kind of like how he mentioned there, like leadership style wise, like that's how Travis did it. He was not rah-rah at all.
Yeah.
He was straight lead by example.
Yep. Jordan doesn't look like a kid anymore.
No.
I don't know if he ever did.
Well, he had like a little bit of baby face when he got here
you're right.
last year. Now that's a grown man.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And you talked about it though, but how valuable it was for Jordan to see 2 different styles of elite player leadership.
Yeah.
Like the way Shedeur and Travis led was really completely different, like diametrically opposed almost. And he was able to see that both ways work. You know what I'm saying? Which way is going to work the best for me? And I feel like he's going to be able to find a happy medium between kind of the Travis and the Shedeur way of leading. And we're already seeing remnants of it already. Like he is the guy in terms of leadership from a player perspective on this team as a young sophomore.
Yep, crazy. He's obviously playing left tackle on the first team, so he's gotten to really see what the quarterbacks are doing, of course, from a closer perspective than most. So here's Jordan on what he's seen from Kaidon and Julian so far.
I've seen competition out of those 2 quarterbacks. JuJu's still a young guy, but he's not afraid to, put the ball where he wants it. Kaidon, he's been a leader in all aspects, and he's leading by example also. So between those 2 quarterbacks, what I've seen the most is straight competition, but willingness to learn from each other.
Hey, JC said Kaidon has been a leader in every aspect.
Yep. I mean, it's clearly like the one area that Kaidon just strongly has over JuJu at this point. Like,
yeah,
he's played so much college football, and all the talent JuJu has is clear and obvious. But if that's what it comes down to, it totally makes sense.
Totally. I mean, he's been the leader of a team for several years now.
Face of a program.
Yeah. So he's going to have a leg up. And honestly, my advice to JuJu, just copy him.
Straight up.
Like, there's no rule that says you can't just watch what he's doing and do it yourself.
Facts.
Yep.
And I'm willing to bet JuJu is already doing that in certain aspects in terms of what he sees in Kaidon that he can adapt to himself. I'm sure he's already doing that.
He saw it from Shador too for Alamo Bowl practices.
Yep.
So
And you got to be yourself as a leader.
Right.
You can't fake it. You have to be authentic, but there is things that you can glean from just watching the way that someone else does it and then do it in your own way.
exactly. Last one from today. Jordan, just his impression of the offensive line so far and the mentality for this season.
My evaluation is that we finna run the ball every game. And we're gonna do and impose our will this year. We put a big emphasis on running the ball this year. We didn't really do good at that at all, but you got guys like Trav, LeJohn, Shepard, who doesn't want to throw the ball that much? But this year, we will run the ball and we will impose our will when we want to, how we want to, and when we want to.
It's clear what the message of the offseason was to the guys.
And I love that no one's hiding from that.
Right.
It's a very obvious fact that Colorado has to get significantly better at running the ball this year. There's no need to hide it. State your goals and then go reach them. And think about how great it will be for Jordan Seaton when he goes from that pass blocking performance as a true freshman, builds on that as a pass blocker, and then this year starts mauling people in the run game.
Yep. That's it from today. It was a very informative day, I thought.
No doubt. I just want to add one more thing. Coach Prime also told us today that our guy Nikhil Webb-Walker finished his final phase of chemotherapy. So we're obviously praying for Nikhil, and glad to hear he's improving, doing well out there in Boston.
Yep.
Amen.
Also, the spring game will be broadcast on ESPN2 on the 19th. I'm just going through the whole thing right now. Coach Prime said he's planning or wants to make it out to the Big 12 Pro Day that's happening later this week as well. What else, Scotty? What am I missing? Him talking about being a dad or being a coach and not just a coach and a dad, and how excited he is for that opportunity. I thought that was a great quote and just shows where his head is at coming into this season. And I mean, everyone just feels like this isn't out of normal or it's irregular for this program. But the confidence and the excitement about this roster it really is palpable, man. Like, I'm getting more excited just from listening to them.
And this was a little bit of a debate up in the office earlier today. I can't remember if you guys were there for it or not. But it was about whether CU is still going to be everyone's Super Bowl this year.
Oh, yeah.
I actually think that they have the ability to sneak up a little bit this year. Because I think everyone's, it's just Travis and Shador.
I could see that. Okay.
And obviously Shador, I think, played a lot into being everyone's Super Bowl because he was literally the superstar of the sport. And then Travis Hunter's the Heisman winner, who's right behind him. So that played into it a lot. This year, I think that teams are gonna sleep a little bit. And they won't last long. But I think early in the season, CU has a chance to sneak up on people, which has not been an option in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
That would be a positive thing, positive development. If they can just not get every team's best shot, that could probably work out a little bit for them.
There's always going to be the bright lights because of Coach Prime.
Yeah.
But I think you might be able to catch a couple teams lacking.
No doubt. One more thing that I wanted to just talk briefly about from Coach Prime today. I sent it to Jake, but clearly he didn't think it was good enough to include in the show.
No. Well, okay, hold on. See, look, you guys try to blame me for stuff, and you know what? I'll take the blame.
Nice.
I'll tell you after the show what actually happened.
All right, no worries. I'm sure it wasn't your fault, bro. I'm sure it wasn't your fault.
Yeah, I'm sure you believe that.
Wait, what?
What were you about to say?
I was just going to say I wanted to bring something up. A question I asked Coach Prime, just talking about how important it was to retain Robert Livingston as defensive coordinator. And he talked about that it was pretty much the number one priority. And he also mentioned the fact that at the end of that, he said his quote, I'm paraphrasing here, but basically it was like, when we lose, we really gain. And I was like, damn, he's right. And obviously he was talking about potentially, Robert Livingston, like when you have success, your coaching staff a lot of times can get ravaged, get poached. And when he said when we lose, we really gain, I thought about that potentially with the offensive line. Like a lot of people are upset you lose a Phil Loadholt, but I think you elevating Gunnar White, bringing in an Andre Gerard to work with George Hegeman as kind of a trio, I think that offensive line is going to improve out of that. You think of...
Coach Prime said that today, specifically mentioning the coaching will be better on the offensive line.
Yeah.
He did. And I think of even last offseason, a lot of people were like, what's the defense going to do now with Charles Kelly? And there was obviously a long search. And you end up with a Robert Livingston that improves your defense. I think of people were like, Vincent Dancy, what the hell? He's gone too. I feel like adding George Hilo into that room, I think could help bring out something even more impressive out of that edge, that defensive line group. So I just thought that when we lose, we really gain. Quote from Coach Prime just really stuck with me today.
That's a great point.
It reminds me of a quote from a great philosopher, Osakin. Took L's but walked around like I was undefeated.
God.
And also, it reminds me of a phrase that I honestly try to live my life by, which is things don't happen to you, things happen for you.
No doubt.
You have to figure out why it happened for you.
Yeah.
Because you sit there, this happened to me, that happened to me, you can get negative about it.
Yep.
If you say this happened for me, you just got to figure out why you stay positive on it.
Well said.
To go back to RK, your point about getting everyone's best shot, and maybe that is like lessened a bit this year. I think that you can have some of that happen, but I go back to what Coach Prime said. I can't remember when he said it, but teams don't want to beat CU; they want to beat him.
Yeah,
and I think that's always going to be the case. So
it is, but I think it's just going to be different. It's going to be different this year.
Yeah. Anything else today, boys?
Let's hit the Toyota chat.
Let's get to the chat. What's up, Ivan? Can we please get a pic of that jacket Coach Prime kept talking about during the press conferences? Was it really that
Who was
fire?
he talking to?
Mark Johnson.
Mark Johnson, bro.
Oh, yeah.
OG.
He was over
Yeah.
there fresh as hell. I ain't gonna lie.
He really was.
Mark Johnson, I mean, best dressed member of the media,
Probably.
consistently.
Yeah.
I'm sure you could see a picture of it in Neely's view of the press conference because he likes to pan across. So,
Or if Buffs TV does something and just Mark Johnson standing there with the jacket on. Like,
that's true.
So keep an eye out. What's up, Maya? Did he say that Pro Day will be on NFL Network? Yes, that too. He's expecting all 32 teams, and it will be shown on NFL Network.
Spring game on ESPN2. Pro Day on NFL Network. Crazy.
Don't come here unless you want to be seen.
Crazy.
East Coast Kev with the Super Chat says, after today's interview, I'm confident we should change Brian's name to two-part Hal. Why can't he ask one question like everyone else?
You know? I don't know.
I'm not. I have nothing to say. I don't know.
There's nothing to say.
Shout out.
Last minute Super Chat from JP's Revenge. Anyone know if Adelius Thomas is still on staff? That's a good question. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Did y'all see what Florida State is doing with their spring practices?
No.
What are they doing?
FSU head coach Mike Norvell has released a statement this morning announcing spring practice will be closed to the media.
Wow.
There will be post-practice press conferences, but no practice viewing.
Wait, so
They had it the other way.
No, they had it. They had it. Yeah, they had it the other way. Now they're doing what Colorado does.
Yeah. I blame Mark Kisla.
that, but I'm surprised more teams don't do it.
He goes, in my first 5 seasons here, we provided unmatched access to members of the media to observe practices during the spring, preseason camp, and game weeks. I appreciate and respect the media's role in telling the stories, but in the day and age where so many people have access to our players, I want to create an atmosphere free of outside perspectives during our time of preparation and development.
It's a lot of words just to say. Okay, hold on. We're going to overtime real quick. So if you're watching on Samsung TV, all that good stuff, head on over to DNVR.com. We're going to finish up the show over there. Sorry, go ahead.
That was pretty much it. And then he had to throw in this. He goes, this is not a suggestion that I think last season's record had anything to do with media members observing our practices, especially after we won 9 games in a row in 2022 and 2023 with media at practice. He just had to throw that in there.
It's a... I don't know what the balance is between teams that do this and teams that don't. Only one coach I've ever covered at CU had open practices, and it was John Embry.
I mean,
Darrell didn't have open practices during spring?
That's all. This is all I've known, so I don't even. It's whatever.
It's pretty cool to be able to watch the practice.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure the few times that we've been allowed in, it's been amazing.
I see it of like reporters on other beats at other cover other schools. I'm like, damn, that looks fun to be out there and watch practice.
Yep. But that's what happens when the spotlight's on you. And to go back to, again, we'll talk more about the spring game stuff later in the week, but how dumb do you think like Matt Rule and all these coaches feel if Coach Prime does get his way and Syracuse comes to town for like an actual game? Like, not only did you waste money, and Coach Prime, when he went off on a bit of a tangent about the spring game, he was saying, if you want to save money, then just save that. But I mean, for real though, like if this is something that actually ends up happening, every other college is going to follow suit and try and schedule with another college for their spring game just to have some sort of competition, and those will be viewed way more than any other spring game is viewed right now, including Colorado's. Like, if there are actual games, college football type games on in April, everyone's watching.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, if I had it my way, and I was a coach, I would want to do it closed door, though.
I could see that.
Yeah. Although I guess you're getting the closed door practices, 2 closed door practices before.
Right, and you could just like, especially since it's college football and there's actually like no rules for a spring game, like you could probably make that super vanilla where like you do it just for a show, True.
I do think Coach Prime's idea for these spring games are going to catch on, and I feel like he's going to be
should
looked
happen,
at
bro.
years from now as the originator of the new era of spring games.
Absolutely.
Which would just be another feather in his cap.
Facts.
One more super chat from Day Trip and says 2026 Buffs we expect to be drafted.
Jaheim Otis, DJ McKinney, Preston Hodge,
Kaidon
Salter.
Zy Chrysler's a senior.
Zy Chrysler for sure that.
I mean, most of the defensive line is seniors.
Arian Walker potentially.
Both linebackers who we think will start.
Mm-hmm.
There's a
lot of them.
A lot.
Yeah.
That's what Coach Prime came here to do.
Oh God.
That it?
That's it.
Skid.
We'll be back there tomorrow. So we'll have more sound from, I think we get Coach Sapp tomorrow.
Yeah.
And a lot of assistants. So
Let's go.
We'll do this again tomorrow. It's going to be a fun week, though. So happy spring football's back.
Let's go Buffs.
For real.
Let's go Buffs.
We all silly like the mayor.